After he burned the house down, he started changing a little bit. He started playing with light fire. And I was too strict for him, so I think he wanted to stay with Mom when the divorce came through. Because Mom was more lenient, she let me go outside and play with the matches. And he started a fire by the shed and tried, when I drove in, I came home from work, he was trying to shove it underneath the shed and cut the shed on fire. The shed caught the house on fire and burned it down.
Thank you for watching Why I Killed You TV. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this particular video and this particular YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate it. We're going to talk about this guy. His name is Guy Edward Bartkus. He's 25 years old, or shall I say he was 25 years old. He caused a big explosion at a fertility clinic in Palm Springs, California on May the 17th, 2025. The fertility clinic, we know what they do, guys. They help people have babies. Guy set off a big car bomb, and it was really powerful. He died in the explosion, and 4 other people were hurt. FBI says this wasn't an accident. He did it on purpose, and they're saying that this is an act of terrorism. Investigators found a 30-minute audio recording that Guy made before the bomb went off. In it, he talked about how he didn't believe people should have children. He was angry about how some people tried to have kids using science like IVF, in vitro fertilization. He did not agree with that whatsoever. He believed that life causes pain. Evidently, he was in pain to do something like this. He also wrote things online and even tried to live stream the bombing, but that didn't work. The FBI searched his home and found more writings and clues. They also learned that one of his close friends had recently died in something called a consensual homicide. I've never heard of that before. Basically, with the consensual homicide, that means she agrees to somebody killing her. Evidently, she already knew her killer. This is crazy. Guy said that her death made him want to do something big and extreme. And you did it, buddy. You really did. Even though the building was damaged, the clinic said that all of the embryos, the tiny beans, the little babies were safe. People across the country are talking about this case because it's scary and it's sad. And it makes people think about safety and strange beliefs that people might have that will lead to violence. Can't get no more violent than a bomb. Police and the FBI are still looking into everything that Guy did before the bombing to make sure nothing else is going to be coming down the pike. Let's play this clip.
We are learning more, a lot more tonight about yesterday's deadly bombing in Palm Springs, especially about the suspect. We can now confirm he was killed in the blast. Fox 11's Gina Silva is live on the scene with the latest from the FBI. Gina.
Well, Susan, this was a powerful explosion that rocked this community, and you can see right behind me, some of the streets are still closed off to traffic. Now, the FBI says the threat is no longer there, and they also made it very clear who came out on top.
Good guys 1, bad guys 0.
The FBI has identified 25-year-old Guy Edward Bartkus of 29 Palms as the suspect behind Saturday morning's bombing outside the American Reproductive Centers in Palm Springs.
The subject had nihilistic ideations, and this was a targeted attack against the IVF facility.
Bartkus was the only person killed in the bombing. Authorities are calling it an intentional act of terrorism. The 25-year-old suspect reportedly identified as a pro-mortalist who believed IVF treatments are morally wrong.
This person may have caused damage to our buildings, but that person only managed to unite our community even more. We stand united against violence, against hate. Palm Springs is a city of love, acceptance, joy, and hope.
Authorities say Bartkus used his 2010 silver Ford Fusion sedan as a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device. They're asking the public to note this license plate number, 8HWS 848.
That's critical because we need the public's help in identifying gaps in our investigation. We know where Mr. Bartkus was at about 6 a.m. We know the timeline of when he entered the city. However, we need the public's help for identifying where he traversed within the city before the explosion went off.
4 people were injured in the blast. They have since been released from the hospital. Firefighters managed to save all the embryos stored at the fertility clinic.
They understood the sensitivity and the precious nature of what was inside, and they took extreme care to ensure that there was no loss of any sensitive material.
Palm Springs survived, and we are stronger and more resilient as a result.
The suspect had left behind a manifesto that the FBI is now looking into. They also executed a search warrant last night, and they're asking for the public's help, saying if you know anything about this man, if you know anything about this bombing, contact the FBI.
Now at 6:30, new revelations in yesterday's bombing outside a fertility clinic in Palm Springs. The FBI has identified the suspect as 25-year-old Guy Edward Bartkus of 29 Palms. Bartkus was believed to have targeted the clinic over anti-natalist ideology, and he died in the blast.
Well, today his father is speaking out about his son. KTLA's Jean Kang is live in 29 Palms with the interview you'll see only on 5. Hello, Jean.
Hi, Karina and Courtney. This story really has a lot of twists and turns in this tragedy. Guy Edward Bartkus, who you mentioned is the prime suspect with the FBI, they're currently searching his house here in 29 Palms. There are barricades all over this location as many houses are still evacuated. Well, he is the prime suspect in that bombing that was in Palm Springs, and it's being called a terrorist attack. Meantime, his father sheds light on the suspect's childhood. 25-year-old Guy Edward Bartkus of 29 Palms named as the suspect in Saturday's bombing of the American Reproductive Center's clinic in Palm Springs. Bartkus died when his silver Ford Fusion exploded, tearing the clinic apart, hurting 4 bystanders and damaging nearby homes and businesses. Officials confirmed the clinic was closed and all embryos remained secure. The FBI discovered a disturbing online manifesto and audio recordings possibly linking Bartkus to extremist anti-life views. In the recording, a man says, "I'm angry that I exist," and targeted the fertility clinic due to opposing in vitro fertilization, going on to say the end goal was, quote, to sterilize this planet of the disease of life. The suspect's father, Richard, who lives in Yucca Valley, says he hadn't seen or talked to his son for more than a decade. After he divorced his wife, they became estranged. He was devastated to learn from a family member that his son died in the blast and is now implicated in this terrorist attack. Richard described him as a good, smart child who was a follower, easily influenced by others. With a childhood history of setting fires. At 9 years old, he had burned down their family home playing with matches, but he'd never imagined this type of behavior.
What my wife, what my daughter knows, I really don't know. But they had to see a change in them. They don't just go off like that and nobody sees a change. After they burned the house down, he started changing a little bit. He started playing with it like fire. And I was too strict for him, so I think he wanted to stay with Mom when the divorce came through. Because Mom was more lenient, he should let me go outside and play with the matches. And he started a fire by the shed. And tried when I drove in, I came home from work, he was trying to shove it underneath the shed and cut the shed on fire. The shed caught the house on fire and burned it down. I know, we hadn't talked in over the years. So it's wrong. No, I won't see him again.
Brian Levin, founder of the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism and professor emeritus at Cal State San Bernardino, says the suspect appeared to be part of a growing group of radicalized lone wolves, tainted by dark websites littered with misinformation.
We've been seeing in recent years young people, young adults, young males acting out grievance either as part of a broad movement or sometimes obscure ones like this anti-life movement.
They hate you. You're gonna die. I don't want to do this.